On my first day at work, my beautiful boss dragged me into a game. I immediately picked Pineapple Kid to jungle. Once the match began, I made a beeline for her tasty roast chicken. I stole it, then taunted her relentlessly. But she stared at my game username, grinding her teeth in fury. Big brother. The $200 you scammed out of me 5 years ago. Have you spent it all? With a boom, my butt clenched in panic. I suddenly remembered that 5 years ago, I had posed as a woman in a game to catfish a wealthy player. And this Luoxu Wuan was the only one I had ever reeled in. Back then, she was a sweet little girl with the softest voice. She called me big brother every other word, begging me to help her rank up. I sweet-talked and conned her, saying I wanted a new skin, but was $200 short. Without hesitation, she transferred the money. The instant I got it, I blocked her and vanished at lightning speed. I disappeared without a trace, but never in my wildest dreams did I expect that 5 years later, in a situation like this, we would meet again this way. That sweet, wealthy girl from back then had become my direct superior. President Su. Are you sure you've got the right person? This account? I bought this account. Su Qingxue gave a cold laugh, picked up another personal phone from her desk, and dialed a number. The next second, the phone in my pocket started vibrating wildly at the worst possible time. Its ringtone, in the deathly silent office, was especially piercing. Dozens of eyes throughout the office turned to me at once. My legs went weak, and my knees buckled uncontrollably. Mercy, rich lady. Get up, since it's you. Then the interest from these 5 years is something we need to settle properly. She picked up her gaming phone again. The game continued, but instead of attacking the enemy team, she began chasing me all over the map, calling out my coordinates to the other side. When the match ended, my record was an atrocious 0, 20, and 0. Then she immediately reported me. My reputation score was wiped out completely. Finally, she rose to her feet and announced before the whole company, effective today, Ling Q is reassigned as the president's special assistant. Move his desk into my office. Under everyone's pitying gaze, my desk was moved right under her nose. Then she gave me an assignment. Go. Count every ant in the flower bed downstairs. For every ant you miss, $100 comes out of your pay. Staring at the blazing sun outside, I was utterly dumbfounded, but I couldn't run away. And I didn't dare curse her out. So, beneath the scorching sun, I counted ants all afternoon. I got so sunburned my skin peeled. That night, back in my rented apartment, the more I thought about it, the more miserable I felt. To hell with this job. The next day, I went straight to human resources and handed in my resignation. The young woman looked at me with pity, then handed me a contract. Ling Q. Take a look at your contract. If Party B, Ling Q, voluntarily resigns during the contract term, he must pay Party A liquidated damages of 2 million yuan. 2 million. Is this woman a demon? Over a measly $200. Did she really have to go this far? I had no choice but to swallow my humiliation, return to the president's office, and endure her torture. Ling Q, pour me a coffee. I brought it over. She took one sip and poured it straight onto the floor by my feet. Too hot. Too cold. Too much sugar. There is no sugar. She sent me back and forth over a dozen times. My legs no longer felt like mine. Just when I thought the torture was over, she gave me another order. The company is introducing a new corporate culture. As the president's special assistant, you need to lead by example. So, starting tomorrow, you will come to work dressed as a different game hero every day. Dress as what? Tomorrow, we'll start with your beloved Pineapple Kid. So the next day, I, a 6-foot-tall grown man, wore a painfully ill-fitting Marco Polo costume, with Pineapple Kid's wig on my head. As I walked around the company, everywhere I went, people struggled to suppress their laughter. That day, my dignity was thrown to the ground and trampled into the dirt. During the department meeting, Su Qingxue took things even further. She pointed at the financial report on the projector and said to me, Assistant Lin, in Pineapple Kid's voice, read this financial report aloud to everyone. Resisting the urge to throw the report in her face, I read it in a voice that made me sound like a complete idiot. Seeing you guys reminds me of someone. He owes me $100. Ha ha ha. After the meeting, I was in the break room with my coworkers, complaining that Qingxue was an old witch, when she caught me red-handed. But she did not get angry. Instead, she studied me with amused interest. If I am an old witch, where is my broom? You have 30 minutes. Go buy me an old witch-style broom. Oh, and one more thing. Write it back. So, beneath the astonished stares of passers-by, I rode a broom back to the office. Qingxue stood before the office's floor-to-ceiling windows, watching my ridiculous performance on the security feed. At last, the corner of her mouth curved into a genuine smile, though it was a mocking one. That evening, she made me stay behind alone to work overtime again. She ordered a whole table full of my favorite foods, crawfish, barbecue, and fried chicken. Then she ate leisurely right in front of me, without giving me a single bite. Do you know how that feels now? HMPH. This is how I felt back then, starving, while I waited for you to come online and play with me. Just when I thought I would have to live in this living hell forever, an uninvited guest shattered the uneasy peace. Clutching 999 tacky red roses, he barged into the president's office. Qinghan, I'm back. Wei Shengjin, who let you in? Wei Shengjin completely ignored her icy expression and strode forward anyway, striking a pose he clearly thought was handsome. Woman, stop playing hard to get. Do you realize you are playing with fire? What era are we living in? Who still says lines from those outdated billionaire romance novels? Qingxue was clearly sick of him too. Her eyes darted, and she suddenly grabbed me, standing beside her in my Pineapple Kid costume, and pulled me over. Allow me to introduce you. This is my boyfriend. What? Wei Shengjin's gaze shot toward me like blades, as if he wanted to bore holes through me. He pulled a checkbook from his jacket and quickly scribbled down a number. I'll give you 5 million yuan. Leave her. 5 million. I had never seen that much money in my life. My hand had already risen on instinct. The next second, searing pain shot through the top of my foot. Qingxue's 4-inch stiletto heel ground down hard on my foot. The pain made me gasp sharply. She leaned close to my ear, her voice soft but vicious. If you take it, you're dead. I grimaced in agony. My survival instincts made me tearfully refuse. The check right in front of me. No, Qinghans, and my love is priceless. Just you wait. I'll make sure you can't survive in a city. Who the hell do you think you are? Only I get to bully my dog. Caught between two intimidating maniacs, I felt like I was suffocating. That night, under cover of the deep night, I quietly packed my shabby little bag and bought a standing room train ticket back to the countryside. I had to run. No question about it. So what if the penalty was 2 million yuan? To hell with it. I'm done. At worst, I'd go back to the village and farm. HMPH. I refused to believe Qingxue would chase me all the way into these backwoods. The moment the train pulled out, I watched the city lights race past the window and let out a long breath. Heh. Goodbye, old witch. Ling Q, am free. Back in the village, I came back to life. I threw off that humiliating costume and changed into baggy shorts and flip-flops. I felt like I'd become the village bully nobody dared cross again. When Grandma saw me home, she beamed from ear to ear. Q, why are you back? Couldn't get used to city life. That city isn't fit for people to live in. Our village is the place that really nourishes you. Over the next 2 days, I completely let myself go. Every day, I let a pack of snot-nosed brats play in honor of kings at the village convenience store. As I played, I boasted to them about my glory days. Back in the day, your brother Q was the #1 Marco Polo player on the national server. One man, to guns. Even Yan Xuanjing, if he met me, would have to call me master. The kids looked at me with worshipful eyes, which greatly fed my vanity. Suddenly, on the village's only dirt road, a cloud of dust rose into the sky. A Maybach I had only ever seen online came rolling toward us from afar. Its luxury looked wildly out of place on that road. People working in the fields, playing cards at home, or resting beneath the trees. Everyone was stirred up and gathered around to watch. Good Lord, what kind of car is that? It's fancier than the village chief's tractor. How much corn would I have to haul to afford one of those? Under the curious eyes of the entire village, the Maybach finally stopped in front of me. The door opened, and a foot in a 4-inch stiletto emerged first. Then it stepped squarely into a fresh pile of cow dung by the road. Qingxue. She had actually chased me here. Ignoring the filth on her shoe, Qingxue walked straight through the crowd, stalking toward me with murder in her eyes. Qingxue, you think hiding in this backwater means you don't have to repay those $200? The villagers' nosy gazes shifted back and forth between us, and they began whispering among themselves. What? Our village's hard-won college graduate owes this young lady $200 out in the city? Still, this girl is something else. Over $200. She drove such a fancy car all the way here. That's awfully stingy. Qingxue trembled with rage. She wanted to explain, but realized these villagers would never understand. In the end, she could only take all her anger out on me. She pointed at her cow-dung-covered high heel. Clean it for me. Looking at her utterly ruined high heel and her face blazing with fury, I could not help taking a little pleasure in her misery. But the villagers' gossip kept getting louder. Their gossip grew more and more outrageous. That girl doesn't look stingy. Did Q fool her into falling for him? Maybe she's got his baby and came looking for the father? I was completely overwhelmed. If I let her keep making a scene, my reputation would be completely ruined. So I gritted my teeth and yanked up a handful of grass, then fought back my disgust as I scraped the cow dung off her shoe. Seeing my miserable expression, Qingxue's expression eased slightly. Then she announced, "Until you repay your debt, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying at your house." Grandma was overjoyed when she heard that. She had not understood a word about debts. All she saw was that I had brought home a girl as lovely as a fairy. Oh my. What a pretty girl. She's Q's girlfriend, isn't she? What? The moment Qingxue stepped into my yard, her nightmare officially began. First, she saw the one in the corner of the yard, a crude outhouse built from bricks and asbestos sheets. Her face went green on the spot. That night, Grandma prepared my sister's old room from before she got married. There was a hard wooden bed, covered with a faded red and green floral quilt. Is there no mattress? We only have bamboo mats. Want one? At midnight, a string of screams from the next room woke me up. Ah, mosquitoes. There are mosquitoes. Qingxue, get over here. Smugly, I found her a pair of Grandma's floral cloth shoes and an outfit my mother wore when she was young. President Su. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. The next day, Qingxue emerged wearing a full village girl outfit. And I nearly burst out laughing. Ha. I have to admit, that outfit actually suits you. Qingxue, I'm hungry. I want a medium well steak. I gave a dry chuckle, then turned and went into the kitchen. I brought her a plate of cold fishman salad, stir-fried cilantro, and red-braised fatty pork. Qingxue stared at the table full of dishes that challenged the limits of human taste buds. Her expression changed again and again, but to preserve her dignity as a president, she forced herself to pick up a mouthful of fish mint and put it in her mouth. The next second, she ran into the yard and threw up violently. At night, she was afraid of the dark and did not dare sleep alone. She insisted that I sit on a small stool outside her door, while tightly clutching the hem of my shirt. President Su, all this grabbing and tugging counts as workplace sexual harassment. Shut up. It's an honor for you to stand guard for me. Watching her be scared out of her wits, yet still refused to admit it, I suddenly thought this she-devil was not quite so unbearable after all. Early the next morning, a deafening roar jolted all of Peach Blossom Village awake. I bolted awake and rushed out into the yard. A white private helicopter was wobbling down toward the grain-drying field at the village entrance. Its rotors whipped up a fierce wind, instantly blowing off second Grandpa's wig as he did his morning exercises. Before the helicopter had even settled, Wei Shengjin emerged flamboyantly, holding a bouquet of blue roses. He struck what he thought was an impossibly cool pose as he landed, but the moment he found his footing, the smell drifting over from the nearby pigpen made him gag on the spot. Pinching his nose, he immediately spotted Qingxue in her large floral padded jacket among the crowd. His face instantly filled with anguish, as if he had found a saint in distress. "Qingxue, I'm here to save you." "How dare he make you suffer like this? How could a place this shabby ever be worthy of you?" As he spoke, he pulled out his checkbook again. This time, he spoke directly to the village chief, who had rushed over. "I'll give you 10 million yuan. Sell me this dump of a village. Right here, I will build Qingxue the most luxurious resort in the world." "What did you just say, you little brat? You want to dig up our ancestors' graves?" A violent clash was about to erupt. Qingxue suddenly stepped forward and did something that left everyone completely stunned. She deliberately slipped her arm through mine, leaned against me, and gave Wei Shengjin a sweet smile. "Sorry, but I like how natural it is here. And I like this down-to-earth man, too." Wei Shengjin did not believe her. He thought I had forced Qingxue into saying it. Pointing at me, he issued a challenge. "Fine, you want to prove you're better than me, right? Then let's compete. We'll compete at what you country people do best, planting rice seedlings." I looked at his immaculate designer suit and his gleaming polished leather shoes, then gave him a devilish smile. "Gladly. There was an easy way out, but you ignored it. Now you've charged straight into hell. Today, I'll show you what truly natural living is all about." News of the rice planting contest seemed to grow wings and spread through all of Peach Blossom Village. Everyone in the village, men, women, young and old, carried stools on their shoulders, grabbed sunflower seeds, and ran to the rice paddies at the eastern end of the village to watch this showdown of the century. Wei Shengjin proudly marched toward the paddy. The instant one foot touched the water, his whole body, like a radish, went straight down into the mud. He could not pull himself free. The crowd burst into laughter. I waded barefoot into the field with practiced ease. My movements were smooth and fluid. In just a few swift motions, I had planted a neat row of seedlings. Wei Shengjin struggled in the mud for ages. When he finally pulled himself free, he was completely covered in mud. He had barely tried to take another step when he suddenly let out a scream. Something bit me. Terrified, he lifted his calf. A black leech was firmly latched onto his leg. Wei Shengjin shrieked in terror. All dignity forgotten, Qingxue stood on the ridge between the fields, watching the ridiculous scene. She laughed so hard she doubled over, unable to straighten her back. But Wei Shengjin refused to concede. He crawled out of the mud and proposed a second event. HMPH. I won't accept this. For the second event, we'll catch geese. He pointed at the strutting flock of white geese by the village entrance. Brimming with confidence, I almost laughed out loud. Everyone in the village knew that second grandpa's flock of white geese he raised were the village's fighter jets. Even the dogs feared them. Sure enough, the moment Wei Shengjin approached, the lead goose stretched out its neck and charged at him with its flock behind it. What followed was downright brutal. Chased by the geese, Wei Shengjin sprinted down the village road, screaming for his life. The lead goose pecked his backside with deadly accuracy, turning his expensive suit pants into a garment full of holes. Qingxue laughed until tears streamed down her face. Finally, I could not stand by any longer. I stepped in and grabbed the lead goose by the neck, lifting it into the air. Only then did I rescue Wei Shengjin and his shredded backside. He stood there, filthy and humiliated. The holes in his pants left him embarrassingly exposed. The crowd erupted into laughter again. Qingxue wiped away her tears of laughter, then cleared her throat. Before the whole village, she announced the result. I declare the winner of this village showdown to be Ling Q. HMPH. As your reward, go wash the clothes I changed out of yesterday. What kind of reward is that? That night, power went out while the village lines were being repaired. Without phones or television, the entire village sank into darkness and silence. Qingxue and I climbed onto the roof, gazing up at a sky the city could never offer. Brilliant stars overhead, the The summer night breeze smelled of earth and fresh grass, and felt wonderful against our skin. Back then. Why did you lie to me? Why did you block me after scamming me out of my money? I fell silent. That question had been a thorn in my heart for 5 years. My mother was sick then. She urgently needed money for surgery. I had no other choice. I went online hoping to scam some money. But after I got it, I felt terribly guilty. I was too ashamed to face you again. So I blocked you. Su Qingxue said nothing. She just listened quietly. As for those 200 yuan, the next day, I found a way to use the game's gifting feature to return it to you as in-game credits. What? You probably just never noticed. Su Qingxue froze. She took out her phone and, with her usual uncanny abilities, pulled up the transaction records from 5 years ago. She searched through the records for a long time. Finally, under a date from 5 years ago, she found a record of 2,000 game credits being gifted. The misunderstanding was cleared up, but the air between us became even more delicate and intimate. She lowered her head, her voice barely a whisper. HMPH. Then you're a liar, too. You stole my trust. Do you know that? At that time, my parents had just divorced. Everything at home was a complete disaster. No one cared about me at all. You were my whole world. I truly saw you as a very important friend. It felt as though something had slammed hard into my heart. So that was it. Behind those 200 yuan, there had been a story like this. I looked at her delicate profile in the moonlight. Her usual coldness and forcefulness had faded, replaced by a hint of vulnerability and softness. I suddenly felt that this she-devil was not quite so frightening after all. Wei Shengjin spent a day at the town clinic, then came charging back the next day. This time, he skipped the flashy display. Instead, he brought in a group wearing black suits and dark sunglasses, bodyguards. They blocked the village's only road in. I've already contacted investors. We're going to buy the land your village sits on and build a chemical plant here. Then your beautiful, green, Peach Blossom Village will become a stinking sewer. The villagers were furious. They surrounded them with farm tools in hand. Su Qingxue's face darkened. She stepped forward, shielding both the villagers and me. Wei Shengjin, you're breaking the law. Wei Shengjin sneered. He paid no attention to her warning. He signaled to his bodyguards. The bodyguards immediately stepped forward. They grabbed Su Qingxue's arms from either side, trying to force her into the car. Qingxue. I took a deep breath, put the fingers in my mouth, and let out a loud, piercing whistle. The next second, hundreds of Chinese native dogs poured in from every direction. They formed the massive dark wave, instantly surrounding Wei Shengjin's convoy. Manure scoops and rotten vegetable leaves flew through the air. Barking dogs and screaming men filled the air. Those bodyguards who threw their weight around in the city had never seen anything like this. The villagers beat them into a panicked rout, forcing them back step by step. Amid the chaos, I rushed to the car. I raised the iron shovel in my hand and slammed it down on the window. Bang! The window shattered instantly. Glass shards sliced open my hand, and blood poured out. I ignored the pain, reached inside, and opened the door. Then I yanked Su Qingxue out of the car. Are you all right? Su Qingxue stared at my blood-soaked hand. On her normally composed face, panic showed itself for the first time. Your hand! Wei Shengjin was scared out of his wits. Amid the villagers' angry denunciations, and the dogs lining the road to see him off, he scrambled desperately into his car and fled in disgrace. I looked at Su Qingxue, sheltered behind me. She was looking at me too, an emotion I could not understand churned in her eyes. When we got home, Grandma saw my injured hand and cried with heartache. Su Qingxue brought out the first aid kit. She carefully cleaned and bandaged my wound. Her movements were clumsy, but wonderfully gentle. The antiseptic touched the wound. It hurt badly, but I did not make a sound. Grandma watched from beside us, beaming as she played matchmaker. Our Q has grown up. He knows how to cherish his wife now. One really like this future granddaughter-in-law. That big butt means she'll have babies easily. Su Qingxue's face instantly flushed to the tips of her ears. It was the first time I had ever seen her blush. From that day on, something between us changed. She never mentioned those 200 yuan again, nor did she bring up the penalty fee. She traded in her high heels and business suits, for canvas shoes and casual clothes. She began joining me to catch fish by the river and pick mushrooms in the mountains. She learned quickly, going from hopelessly clumsy at first to looking like a natural. One day, as we caught fish by the river, she suddenly spoke. "Ling Q, I'm not going back. How about I stay and be your wife?" Seeing how serious she was, I quickly backed up to steps. No, President Su. You have to be joking. I can't afford to support you. What you spend on one meal could feed me for half a month. Su Qingxue said nothing. She just kept advancing, backing me against a huge tree trunk. She lifted her chin slightly, wearing her signature bold, commanding look. "Fine, I'll support you. Come back to the company with me and be my personal support." I opened my mouth, trying to refuse, but she took from her pocket the contract I thought she would cherish forever, the 2 million yuan penalty contract. Right before my eyes, she tore it to pieces. "Your debt is forgiven. But you belong to me." My heart raced as if it were about to leap out of my throat. Seeing me frozen in shock, a mischievous smile curled across her lips. She leaned close to my ear and whispered so only I could hear. "If you still won't agree, I'll tell the whole village that 5 years ago, you wore women's clothes online to scam me out of money. Fine, you win." In the end, she marched me back to a city, back at the company. Everything had changed. My colleagues' looks went from sympathy to shock, then to awe. That guy who counted ants, the president's assistant who wore cosplay outfits, now boldly sat on the sofa in the president's office, playing games on the president's personal computer. And that ice-cold female president didn't get angry at all. She even brought me tea, poured me water, and peeled fruit for me. During meetings, Su Qingxue was still as decisive and commanding as ever, a queen whose word was law. But everyone noticed that whenever her gaze swept over me, the ice in her eyes instantly melted, turning soft as water. After work, our time alone truly began. Playing games as a duo became our daily ritual. Only this time, our roles had completely reversed. Without a shred of guilt, I picked Yao, riding on her head like an accessory, while she played Marco Polo, slaughtering enemies across King's Canyon and carrying me to victory. There were always clueless teammates in game who called me a pretty boy living off a woman. Whenever that happened, Su Qingxue would switch on team voice chat and fire back in her cool, commanding voice. "I want to carry him. What about it? He's the husband I bought for 200 yuan back then. Got a problem with that?" Looking at her fierce words on my phone screen, I smiled, helpless but doting. I only meant to scam her out of a game skin back then. But who could have imagined I would end up giving my whole life to her?